All right, let's see. It's syncing it up. I'm so excited to have you guys on.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for the goodies in the mail.
Yes, and I'll tell you more about that. I didn't want to like overwhelm you right before this.
No, that's good. It's good.
It's spinning, babe.
Yep, that's okay. Where did it go? Here we go. Okay, awesome. We're on.
Did it.
Nice.
Start, babe.
Here, good job.
Nice. Hi, everybody.
Hello, everybody. So super excited to have Tim and Becky join us tonight. We are going to cover some hot topics. You're not going to want to miss this. We're going to dive into communication, expectations. I'm going to cover a little bit about tone of voice and how you can either choose to ignore it or maybe, jump on it, and, the difference in the outcome of, those two choices that you can control and make.
All right,
this is my wife, Blair.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. We're so excited for you guys to meet. Like for us, we're in these little boxes right now. So meet Tim and Becky. We're excited to have them on here tonight. There's sometimes that you meet other really awesome couples and you just instantly connect. So we felt that way when we met Tim and Becky last week. They are an amazing couple that puts their marriage first, their family. And I'm excited for you guys to hear from them tonight because just in the little bit of time that we had with them, which was 30 minutes, we got some great ideas. We're going to share with you tonight one of the things that they taught us and how we implemented it right away. And that is one of the things that I love is when you can find other people who are like-minded and want the same thing out of life, which is having a great marriage. So we are not going to delay at all. I know it's Friday night, so hopefully you guys are hanging out with your spouse right now watching this. And if not, if you're watching it later in replay, drop replay below and let us know how long you've been married in the comments, or if you're dating somebody special, let us know how long you guys have been dating. But Tim and Becky, tell us, how long have you guys been together and how did you first meet? That's always my very favorite question.
It's a fun one. It's a fun one. You take it? You can take
well,
it.
We've been together probably 23 years. We've been married almost 21. We met
They must have met when they were 5, right?
For real, yeah. At the prom. Yeah, that was it for us, yeah.
We actually met in college and we were in the same friend group. But the funny thing about our story is Tim said to one of his friends, man, Becky's a cool girl, but there's no way I could ever date her. So
I said that.
So I've been making him eat his words for over 2 decades now. So
I just married her instead.
Yeah.
I just went ahead and
that's really what he meant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of our story, how we met at college, and we've been together for married 21 years.
Yeah.
In about a month.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And they have 2 adorable kids and they live in Ohio. And one of the really cool things is that they have 2 totally different jobs / careers. So you guys tell everybody a little bit, like Becky, what you do, Tim, what you do. And then also, how do you guys make your goals mesh when you have such completely different careers and jobs?
Yeah, go ahead. You can start.
Okay, so I'm a network marketer and I've been doing that for a couple of years now. And then I also have a side thing too, where I've been a blogger for over 11 years that I still make money, residual income off of that. So I have a little bit of my attention there, but most of it is on my network marketing business for the last 2.5 years. And
Becky is just a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I mean, she's just all in, entrepreneur all the time, new idea, running after it, going for it. So.
Yeah, I've never really, I think the last time I had a real job where you had to check, punch a clock, I was probably 24.
Yeah. So she's a serial entrepreneur and I'm actually a pastor. And so I'm currently an executive pastor at a larger church here in Columbus, Ohio. And so I've been a pastor for over 20 years now. It was kind of my career, basically. And so, yeah, for us, those are 2 very different worlds.
Yeah, for sure.
Where she's kind of her own boss and she's running and doing her own thing. And I'm on a really important schedule and strict schedule. And, I work weekends, all of those things as a pastor. So it's been really important for us to figure out with our 2 different worlds how to support each other and so that it doesn't just become conflict and it's really us supporting each other in that way.
Yeah.
So I guess one of the things, you want me just to get going, just start off?
Go, roll with it. You're on fire. Go.
So one of the things that just from a big picture view that we learned really early on from some mentors is we had to figure out real quick what our strengths were and our weaknesses were, admit those to each other, and be really comfortable and okay that there are things that Beckie is better at than I am, and there's things that I'm better at than she is.
Yeah.
And then from there, like, celebrate our strengths and not focus on our weaknesses. Because for us, if we're gonna sync up together, if we're going to, have support each other in our goals and careers and that kind of stuff, like, there's times that I help her in her business. And there's times in a ministry setting that she's helped me. So it's been really helpful for us to understand, again, strengths, weaknesses, admit those to each other, and then focus on celebrating the strengths that you have in each other.
Right.
Rather than so often married people focus on the weaknesses and wish that their spouse was better at certain things instead of celebrating the things that they are good at. So does that make sense?
Perfect. I'm so glad that you brought that up, because Blair and I we laugh at our weaknesses. So we did that. We admit them. And then, like, sometimes she'll walk by me and I'm just kind of like spaced out in the kitchen and she just giggles about it now. So she knows if she tells me to go do something or that she might have to follow up. Might have to make a follow-up call and just just make sure I'm still on task. And we just kind of roll with it. So I'm glad that you brought that up.
But I also think it takes a lot of vulnerability, like what you guys just shared about being honest about your weaknesses and your strengths. That's very vulnerable, right? And that is actually, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful things about a marriage. So instead of focusing on those imperfections, you guys are really focusing on, this isn't what I'm so great at, so can you help me along, and here's what I'm really great at, and I'm going to help you along. So I think that's really awesome.
And then I think when you want me to keep talking? You okay if I keep talking?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think.
Are you in charge, Tim?
Hey, you're giving it away. You're giving the secret away.
You just can't help himself.
Oh man, he got so excited.
That's fun. The other big thing is when that happens and you are synced up and you're celebrating each other that way, one of the things that's been so cool, and we love when we see other couples get to this point, and we don't do it perfect all the time, but when you get to this point, your wins or her wins become my wins, and my wins become her wins. And so in her business and when she's running and gunning and she hits a particular rank in her business, or she does something else that's new and launches something, like, that's my win too.
Yeah.
That's not just her thing. Or when we have wins at the church, and people are helped and those kind of things, and I'm able to come and talk about that, like, that's her win also, right? Like, we're together. And so many couples subdivide out huge parts of their life. And it's like, that's your thing. This is my thing. And when you're not together, you don't get the chance to celebrate each other's wins as together wins.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I just think as a society, it's become like marriage has become more separate, where it's like you have your thing, I have my thing. We'll touch base, high five at night with the kids. And that's just not how we roll. Like we pretty much, like you said, like it's a continual thing where we're focusing on, each other's strengths and and being able to celebrate those wins together. And it's always a team thing. Like we don't have, sure, I have things I like to do and he has things,
of course.
But it's not like we live in those paradigms all the time. And I just think it's unhealthy when you just see couples that are constantly going in opposite directions and they just check in when it comes to up around the kids. We've all heard about, then the kids go away and then what? What do they have? And we don't want to be those people. So
totally. I love that you guys brought that up, because I think, Beckie, we probably see it more as women, which is once, the women are working, they get a lot of accolades, or a lot of people are lifting them up. It happened to me when I used to teach. It happens to me in network marketing. And so if it's two totally separate things, then you start to find your pleasure, your excitement, your purpose in that other thing, right? Or it can happen even with girlfriends or guy friends, like Ryan plays golf. If he got all of his accolades and I was never asking him how it went on the golf course or how he was doing with his game, then he would always be wanting to get it from them. So such a great point that you guys brought up.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to throw this in just super quick because it's so good, so good. I've heard this before.
I think you're gonna say exactly what I was.
Am I?
I don't know.
Okay. And then you can tell me whether it is or not.
Okay.
So men especially, Men, we run to where we're celebrated. Is that what you're going to say? Look at that. Come on, baby. Come on. We're together. So men run to where they're celebrated. And I mean, so many women just don't celebrate their husbands. And then, like you said, like he's a great golfer. And when he goes golfing, all his buddies are like, you're awesome at golfing, or at work. And, you know, you're getting a promotion and those kind of things. And like, he's going to run to where he's celebrated.
That's so true.
And so, and similar with women as well, but I think even more so for men, to celebrate those things is so important, so important to stay together. So anyway.
I agree.
Awesome.
Sounds like you guys are better together.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
Right?
You even threw up the hashtag.
Oh yeah.
I've got a really good teacher.
He's
That
getting
was good.
Yeah.
That was good.
Well, I feel like this goes right into communication, right? And you guys
Total communication.
have so many great tips. When we were talking the other night, I felt like you guys were very in sync with your communication. I feel like that's the number one thing, right, that we get asked about is communication. So I'd love for you to share with the audience, you know, what do you guys do to keep communication open, and what have you learned over your 23 years together that makes you better communicators?
Yeah. Okay. So do you want to tell the thing, or can we tell the thing?
No, you tell the thing. I'm sorry.
No. It's okay. It's okay. So we kind of, as we thought through what we were going to share and that kind of stuff, we kind of did like 4 just really practical, like top tips kind of things that really.
These are pros.
Yeah.
I like it.
That you guys can really, people can begin applying like today. Okay. So the first one is the one that when we were talking and met you guys, you know, last week and talking through that, is it's become such a great thing. And we're both leaders, you know, we both like to be in charge. And so when it's a house project that we're doing, or when it's just driving, like what's the best way to get to a location, or I mean, anything like that, right? We look at each other and we'll start to experience some tension in our communication. And then we look at each other and we say, okay, hold on. Who's in charge? Are you in charge? Because if you're in charge, I'm okay. Like you can take the lead and I'm okay. Or am I in charge? And here's the trick. You have to actually be okay with either one of you doing it, right?
Can't be sarcastic, people.
No.
There has to be a level of vulnerability too, for you to like back down and say, okay, if he's in charge, I'm going to back down. And I think for some reason, we're both able to do that with each other. And I think it's just because we really do trust one another. He trusts when I lead, I trust when he leads. So we're both able to be like, okay, then tell me what to do, you know?
But it opens up the communication lines so well. And it nips like things that could become much bigger points of tension or arguments. It like nips it in the bud really quickly. And so that's one of the big ones. And then you guys you want to tell your story? The who's in charge?
We use this right away.
I just have one quick follow-up question.
Oh, go ahead.
Something that you've always done well, or is it something that you've learned over the years? And kind of like at what point, like how did you learn that, hey, you know, instead of jumping down each other's throats or holding this in, you know, let's try something to figure it out, right?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say it probably actually goes back to the journey of us figuring out what we were good at and our strengths and weaknesses, and being honest about the things that we were good at and the other person's good at, and then celebrating those strengths.
Yeah, and just being in that moment, being like, okay, you're way better at this. Why don't you just be in charge? So, but I think when we sensed that tension was when we actually brought the question to the front of our minds, like, okay, who's in charge here? When we felt the tension is when that question would come out.
And to be honest, I can't remember exactly when we started using it, but we flipped houses for a while, and which that'll get your marriage on some stress there. And so I think that's when we started using that, because we would get into like a project of some kind. And then we would just be frustrating at each other's throats. And so I think that's where we actually started using that as just a way to like manage the reality of figuring out how to do that together. So
you want to share how we used their idea right away?
Oh, totally. You mean with Jeremiah?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So awesome. So we're sitting at the table, and Jeremiah's our 15-year-old, and we're going through his punishment, which is success principles. We're making him kind of go, do highlights, do the study. And I'm asking some very specific questions because in my mind, I know where I want him to go with the questions. And so we sit down and Blair was there and we get talking. And I think you said something.
I thought I was helping.
Which you were helping.
No, I know,
but there was a specific goal I had, and I was trying to dig it out. So I just looked at her, and I was just like,
I didn't ask that time.
I didn't ask.
You're supposed to say who's in charge, but that time, and you know what? I will say, at first you do get kind of like, excuse me, but then I like took a quick second. I was like, okay, and then. It was actually it was really nice because in that moment I was thinking like he needed my help with Jeremiah to help Jeremiah understand what he was trying to get to. And really he didn't need my help. So it was great that I just got to kind of like sit back and observe the situation. And I like learned so much more by observing and then allowing you to lead on that one. And yeah, I think it was interesting because I normally would be like right in it with them. Right. And then I don't think it really does any beneficial. It's not helpful for Jeremiah.
Right.
For sure. We're both like jumping on him.
So it was an awesome trick. And I think that was
awesome.
either the same night or the day after.
That's fun.
And I think that leads right into our second thing is just about like kind of roles and expectations.
Well, they have 4 things they're going to share.
Oh, sorry.
Well, they kind of.
Oh, no, it's okay.
They all
goes together.
Yeah.
Communication, expectations.
I have a question. If Tim, you're speaking and Becky wants to speak, does she touch you under the table? Or is that
it's
something
so weird. We just have this like I don't know.
you guys just get okay.
We just
You guys
grab Ryan's leg.
Oh, do you? Oh no, we don't.
You see me flinch?
So then I seem to grab him right where it tickles.
and when she does that really hard, that's when you do the
Right. Like, oh man, don't go that way. All right.
Okay, so second tip. You got
the
this.
second thing, and I think we touched on this with you guys, was resentment versus guilt. And I would say I fell more into this category than Tim did. But one of the things that I really struggled with is, just asking for help. In regards to anything. And, I'm someone who, is independent, can, get stuff done, all of that. And so for me, I would rather feel guilt or resentment towards Tim than I would feeling guilty for asking him to do something. So let me give you an example. He's worked a whole week. He's exhausted. He's on the couch, unwinding, reading a book, and I need help moving something. Like in my mind, I would rather just in my mind, resent him for, he sees me struggling. Like, why doesn't he come and help me? Like that emotion is easier for me to feel than for me to feel guilty saying, hey, Tim, would you get up, even though I know he's resting and he's chilling, and help me? And we found this, as we were getting into conflict, we found that this was something that I was struggling with. And that so basically we've come to the place where if I say, hey, Tim, can you help me move this couch? And let's just say he needs like 15 minutes or whatever. He now has the freedom to say, hey, can I do it in 15 minutes? And the question I ask myself is it okay if he waits 15 minutes, or am I going to be resentful? And if I'm going to be, resentful in that process, then that's when we have more of a conversation, or I can just do it myself if I can do it without resenting him. But he's like, that's not fair for you to resent me for something I don't even know that you wanted me to do. Like there was zero expectation. There was zero me communicating my need. I was just, for me, and I would just say, challenge all the couples out here. What is the emotion that you easily go towards? And so for me, it was like, I'd rather, easily feel resentment against him than I would rather feel guilty. Resentment was an easier emotion for me to process. And so I think everyone who's listening, they have their go-to emotion. Maybe it's, anger, maybe it's fear, maybe it's, whatever it is, that's your go-to emotion, that you'd rather feel that one than actually communicate with your spouse because it means a different emotion. So do you want to, I don't know if I was.
No, I think it's good. And actually I saw you guys posted just kind of a fun thing about taking out the trash sometime this week.
Yeah.
And it's kind of even along the same lines, like, will you help me take out the trash? And it's like, oh, you meant right now?
Yeah.
Like that kind of a thing. And it's a great thing. What's the go-to emotion that you feel that you do in order to avoid the actual communication that you need to do? So Yeah.
Like literally, Becky, when you were sharing that, I was thinking of like how many of us, men or women, like, stomp off frustrated and annoyed, right? And then it's like the whole night's ruined or the whole day's ruined because all you do is keep thinking about that situation when your partner really didn't even know that it was that big of a deal.
Clueless.
Right.
And sometimes the partner then's like, what's problem? I didn't even, and it's like, you know what the problem is. And then it's over. Like at that point, it's done, right?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, that's such a great one, you guys. I love it. I'm like literally taking notes. You guys are.
No, that's good. That's good. So that's resentment versus guilt. And then the third is address the issue, right? So like, don't stick your head in the sand, address the issue. And what we found anyway, most couples, one person in the marriage is a processor and the other is like, I want to handle this right now.
Yes.
It's not true all the time, but in that, like I'm the processor and Becky's the like right now person. And so it's not fair for either one to force that, that way of handling the issue on the other person completely. So Becky can't say, it's not right that you need time to process. We need to talk about it, right? Like that's not fair to me. It's also not fair to me to say, I'm sorry, I'll let you know whenever I want to talk about it, right? Like that's not fair to her. And so one of the things that we've been able to find, and it took us a while to get this one down.
Yeah.
This was, to answer your question, Ryan, like we struggled with this one for years until we started living this out. But what we're able to now do is when Becky wants to address an issue, and she's normally the one that comes first at the issue. And then I say, if I'm overwhelmed or whatever it is, and like, I just really don't want to talk about this right now, then she has the freedom to say to me, that's okay. When can we talk about it? And I have to give an actual day and time, right? Like I can't just say, I don't know, sometime or next, tomorrow.
Or I don't know, just not right now.
That's not fair to her.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So figuring out that balance with each other of how to address the issue so that, again, at the end of the day for us, I have to pick the time. And then she agrees, and obviously it's not within within reason.
Yeah.
So that's another kind of just helpful tip. I don't know, what do you think?
Literally do the exact same thing. I swear sometimes you guys are like, and Becky, you and I are like the exact same person. We learned that like 5 years ago. So we actually learned it from a counselor who was like, Blair, you like to back people into the corner. You're like, we're going to talk about this. We're going to get it out. Like we're going to handle it right now. Right? That's
I will squeeze your leg until
I will squeeze you until you're ready to talk. And then so now like that's basically how we handle it. I'll be like, I need to talk to you about this. When in the next 24 hours can you talk about it? Mm-hmm. And so but what I found is since we started that process 5 or 6 years ago, it takes Ryan less and less amount of time. Like now he's like, okay, give me like an hour or two. I'll be ready. Or, well, let's talk about it tonight after the kids go to bed. Or sometimes you're ready to talk about it immediately, but I just feel like that process has gotten so much better.
Yeah. I think there's freedom in it because I think there's freedom in it for both people, because I know that we're going to get it talked through and he's going to have some time to process it. And so it is a give and take on either, because I probably still want to deal with it right then, but knowing it's going to get resolved in a couple of hours or tomorrow, I can be okay with letting him have the time to process.
So do you guys practice the don't go to sleep angry?
Yeah. I mean, it's not very often.
I would say, no, I don't. I mean, there are some times that you're just like, you know what, we're not moving. Let's come back to this. But I wouldn't say it's an anger. It's just, it's a mutual decision.
Yeah.
Awesome. Us too. Let's just push that to tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Last one. You want us to do this last one?
Yeah. Should we I feel like we should drum roll.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's probably not.
This
is
great.
You love this.
I
one.
love this.
You
one.
love this one.
Okay, this is. I want to say it's more for women, but I'm going to say that it's just as much guilty for the guys to do it. It's basically what we labeled shoot the fantasy. So I think we go into marriage with this fantasy romantic notion that he's going to read my mind and he's going to meet my every need. And I'm never going to have to tell him. I mean, he's just going to magically appear like a unicorn and, do the things that I'm asking him to do. And, for the women that are listening, I'm just going to say, like, shoot the romantic notion that your husband will ever think like you do and know your brain, because they are so different from you. And so, you know, the quicker you're willing to shoot that and be honest about your needs and your expectations, the happier your marriage will be. Like, it's just, I just see, like, for example, I was counseling with a couple, and it was actually the guy that did this, that he would come home and surprise her all the time. And it would stress her out because the house wasn't clean, and he's kind of a clean freak, and so she would be like a complete wreck when he would surprise her. And he had this romantic notion that he'd walk in the door, surprise, and she'd be like, oh, I've been waiting for you all day. And I mean, it like ruined the night every single time. And then he's mad at her because she doesn't like surprises, and then she's mad at him because. And so then I was like, you guys need to shoot that in the head. Like, if you call her and say, hey, I'm surprised, I'm going to be home in 15 minutes, she'll be like, okay, awesome. And then she has 15 minutes to do the things that she needs to do. And then she's really excited when he comes home. Yeah. So that's like a small example, but I just know so many times, like, I mean, I can't even tell you how many conversations I've had with people who are in a fight with their husband. I'm like, oh, well, did you tell him that? And they're like, no, I shouldn't have to tell him that. I'm like, really?
No, you should have to tell us.
Yeah.
We're not.
I'm like, you think she's like, he should know that because I left the coffee filter on the table and he should have known that we needed more. And I'm like, yeah, he didn't see that. Like, no, that's, and that's a small example, but I just see people all the time just saying, he should know that by now. And it's like, if you're going to continue to function in that he should know that by now, your marriage is going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. Communicating those expectations and having realistic conversations, that's romantic.
Yeah.
Because you're able to really meet each other's needs. So, do you want to add?
On a more intimate level. I love that you said that.
Yeah.
I love that example too, because if I'm scheduling a surprise, and I notice I said schedule, right? Schedule a surprise. It's at least 24 hours in advance.
Yeah.
It's never the day.
I think you tried once to take me away on a surprise, and I had a total
This
breakdown.
was way back. I learned very quickly. It's not her mentality, but it's really an unrealistic expectation. The more details that I can have Blair tell me, that something that will make her happy or something that she wants, it's so much easier for me to do, and I love doing it. So
yeah. I think that's a really good point, Becky. I feel like men do it equally as much as women, but like, I know when I first got married, and ladies, you guys out there might be able to relate to this. I don't know. I just assumed that my husband was gonna be the one that was gonna lock up the house every single night. Every single door and window would be locked, because that meant he was protecting me. And anytime my gas was on empty, he would go fill up my car, like literally. And so finally, like 5 years ago, I just like simply said something about the doors, and he goes, I don't think about that at night, but if you want me to lock the doors, just ask me. So now, like, now I make our 15-year-old do it. But I learned for many years just to be like, hey, Ryan, is everything locked up? And then he'll walk around the whole house and make sure everything's locked up. And I can say to him now, like, oh, listen, my tank's almost on empty and I have to leave first thing in the morning. Can you go fill it up tonight? Because I don't feel comfortable at the gas station at night. So, it's simple little things like that. Like, that's not any less romantic. I mean, he literally just got out of the house, went to the gas station, brought my car back. It is super romantic. But sometimes you voice it.
Yes, and here's the awesome thing is, guess what? I'm happy. I enjoy putting on some tunes at night because it's cool here in Florida, and running into the gas station for a little 15-minute break. Like, I love it. It's great. It's great.
Yeah, and like Blair, you has to know, like Ryan wants to serve you in that way. But if you're just sitting there like, he should know it's Sunday and my gas is probably on empty, Like, he would never.
Isn't he journaling miles?
Isn't he watching every detail?
Yeah.
It is pretty funny. You guys, those were such good points. Anything else that you guys
Let's call those the Fantastic Four. Did you name them?
We did not, but that's great.
There you go. Just
Fantastic Four. That's good. Yeah. No, those were some of our tips and that kind of stuff.
So one thing before we let you guys go, I want to share the book, right?
Yes.
So this is awesome.
I'm like halfway through now. It's so good.
Oh, good.
I'm really loving it.
Tim, do you want to, share your passion behind it quickly, and then I'll add to it? Okay.
Yeah. The book really comes from a passion for marriage. So it's called She's Selling What. I'm a recovering skeptical husband around network marketing, right? Yeah. And so I was a bit of an obstacle to Beckie early on. Rather than being like fuel to her fire, I was a little more water on the fire as she was pursuing some of her business stuff, specifically with the network marketing company that she's with. And so, and a burden for me came out of the fact that so many people, it's actually hurting their marriages. And then the women give up in their business because the husband is an obstacle rather than a support. And I don't think most guys are bad guys. They're not trying to destroy their wife's business. They're just skeptical and they don't know how to work past it. And as we started looking into it, there really wasn't a resource. And so I just felt a huge burden to actually write it. And so it's a book that's written for husbands. And so I would say if you're a husband watching this and your wife is in some type of network marketing, entrepreneurial stuff, it'd be a great book for you to read. It's super practical to help you figure out and work through some things so that you can really support your wife. Yeah. So.
And I would even say if you're in any kind of entrepreneur or like maybe your wife is talking about starting up her own business or just, I don't know. I felt like as I was reading it today, it really could help so many men and women just to open up those lines of communication and expectations. Because a lot of times I think what I was thinking about today is a lot of men aren't, like you said, they're not trying to be bad guys to their husbands by not supporting them, but maybe the expectations aren't being talked about. Like, oh, you're not really hanging out with us anymore at night. Like, oh, I thought that you were going to come to practices and you haven't been to 4 practices in the last 2 weeks. Or, it's more about like opening up those lines of expectations and communication.
I think so. And Tim, I think when we first met, I just shared with you that at first it was just kind of like, oh, this is great. Yeah, go do it. But then once it started, affecting our family life and those expectations that I had, I was a little, I was bristled towards it. But once I softened up and, shared in the wins, it was like, wait a minute. If the goal is an awesome marriage and the goal is to pursue goals together and finances and do incredible things together, then there's a way that I can actually help. It's okay for me to leave work early and pick up the kids or, do something if you're on a live call to do the dishes or whatever. And I was so shocked at how really good it made me feel. Like it gave me more confidence. It was like, wait a minute, I'm helping her. This is awesome. And it was just kind of like little things.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Yep. Well, thank you.
No, thank you guys so much. We're so thankful you guys took time out of your late weekend. So we so appreciate that. You guys go have fun with your family. And I will drop information below about Tim and Beckie as well. So if you guys want to go follow them, amazing people. We're so thankful that we met you guys. Excited to grow our friendship with you guys. And thanks for hopping on here with us tonight.
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome.
Bye, guys.
Wait.
Oh,
we're all better.
We're all better together. Bye, guys. I got to figure out how to stop this thing. There we go. Bye, guys.